Welcome back. Today we're taking you to our second cruise port, to San Juan, Puerto Rico. This setting and my outfit may look familiar to you if you watched our recent video on St. Martin. It's because I'm pre-filming this one, as the day you're watching this, or at least the day it goes up, we will be on our way home from our spring break trip to Disney World. The day that we went to San Juan, they were having a festival, and so Royal Caribbean really kind of urged us all to not stay out too late to get back to the ship as early as possible, just to make sure, the crowds weren't too much that we couldn't make it back onto the ship. So we didn't have time to do everything we wanted to do. We definitely wanted to tour at least one fort, because we, of everything that I had read before going, said that both of the main forts in San Juan were very accessible, but because of our time constraints, we could only do one of them. So the two ones, the closest one to the port was San Cristobal, but we ended up actually going to Del Morro. The sidewalks closest to the port, of course, are always going to be the best, no matter what port you're at. For the most part, they were nice and smooth. The ramps were great. And on our way to Del Morro, we took the route that kind of kept us close to the coastline, so we didn't really go through town on our way to the fort. And that let us see a lot of the other main sort of historical sites. After we passed through the gates of San Juan, kind of when we took a turn and we entered into the park, the Del Morro Park, where it's nice and big open field. It has the fort right straight out at the end, and then on the right, over near the coastline on the other side, was Santa Maria Cemetery. Now, the fort itself was very accessible. There were no, there are no steps. There was only one part of the fort that you could not get to, and it was down into the dungeons. They had that ramp closed off because it was pretty steep, so you had to take the stairs down there. But everything else was completely available to us. The main floor, of course, there were no steps. You could get into all the rooms. There were no thresholds that you couldn't get under. And then you could also go all the way up to the top. Because they built it in mind of being able to move the cannons wherever they needed to, and so you could go up the ramps to get up to the top of the fort. Now, by no means are they, ADA compliant, of course. They are quite steep. You'll probably have a hard time with it if you're in a manual chair, but my power chair had no problems with it whatsoever. It was fine. Now, when we left the fort, we didn't go back the same way that we came, so we didn't stay back on the coastline. We actually went through town to get back to the ship, which, in terms of accessibility, was definitely hit or miss at that point when you're, in the center of Old San Juan. Now, a lot of the sidewalks were fine. They had ramps and things like that, but some of the sidewalks had no ramps, and so I ended up having to go, ride down the middle of the roads, and the roads, for the most part, were old bricks or cobblestone, so it was a pretty rough ride, but it wasn't undoable, of course. And the sidewalks that did have ramps, they weren't always the best, so I remember there was at least one that I had to actually back down because the end of it was a pretty big drop-off. And so I got off that ramp and I crossed the street and went up another ramp, and we went all the way down that sidewalk because it was headed, right where we needed to go, right back to the port, back to the ship. And we got all the way down that sidewalk, and there was no ramp on that side. So we had to turn around and come all the way back. And when we came back to that intersection that we got onto the ramp with, we actually ran into some policemen, and they pointed us down the best road to be on that had the best sidewalks with all the best ramps that generally headed in the direction that we wanted to go. And after that, it was fine. it's not undoable. The city is not undoable. It's not, definitely not the best. So you definitely, if you're not going to be taking a tour, if you're going to be out on your own like we did, make sure that you leave yourself plenty of time to navigate those tricky streets and sidewalks, because you definitely don't want to get left if you're on a cruise. We didn't book a tour, but I have found some accessible tour companies. So if a tour is something that you would be interested in, I will link that information down below as well. I think if we go back on another cruise, it would be beneficial to at least try a tour just to see more in a day and not have to worry about, can I get down this road or not? But all in all, I enjoyed it. Like I said in the beginning, there was a festival going on, so there was lots of arts and craft vendors, lots of food vendors, just a lot of energy and excitement. I hope this was helpful in some way and that you enjoyed it, and we will see you next time. Bye!